Hello again. Okay then. So let's format this and let's make it a little bit more user-friendly. As I said to you, the titles and the field names and so on that come in aren't necessarily the most user-friendly we can have. For instance, sum of gross by name. Well, we know what we're talking about because we're dealing with this data set, but we're not making this for us. We need the reader, the viewer, whatever, to know exactly what we're talking about. So make sure you've highlighted this. In other words, you made it active, you've clicked on it. And let's look at this visualizations pane. And we've got three bits, sections, if you like, within there. Add data. So basically, this is where we're building the visual. We've done that. We've got the name and the gross. We've then got format, which has got masses of different options within there. And then we can actually add further analysis, but we'll leave that one for just now. Within format, we've got two options, the visual and the general. I'm going to start with the general, because the general is sort of the canvas, the background, as opposed to the visual itself. I'm going to go through here. Properties tells us exactly the sizes. I'm going to leave that. We're not going to start mucking around with that. We can be really, really accurate, pixel perfect with our dashboard layout, but we're going to leave that one for just now. What I do is when I'm going through these options, if you leave all the chevrons open like this, you will be scrolling all the way down to the center of the earth. So what I tend to do, once I've finished with properties, close that chevron back up and move down. Now title, we need a title for this one, but as I said, sum of gross by name isn't necessarily the most user-friendly, so we just change it. Highlight that, delete or write over it, and we'll just put highest grossing movies. Also, it depends where you want this. I'm going to center it. So we've got options for changing the heading style, the font, bold, the color. I'm just going to center it for just now. There we go. That's all I'm going to bother with there. So I'll close down title. Effects. Now, this is something I would advise you do. We've got options here. I'm going to do it and then take it off again, but we can put background color or whatever on it. Not that one, but anyway, we can do. I'm going to leave it a white. But one thing I use for every single chart in the Power BI dashboard is the border and the shadow. I'll show you what I mean. Click off there. It's very unlikely you will have a Power BI dashboard with one chart on it. I mean, what's the point? You can do that in anything. You're going to have a number of different charts within your dashboards. By having a border on each one, it really separates them out. It focuses the person who's looking at it, and it just makes it look a little neater. So I always make sure that I put on, back to here, under general, effects, border, and shadow. Close that back up. That'll do us for the general, and let's have a look at visual. Visual is the more specific to whichever we've chosen. And again, obviously, if it's a pie chart, you've got different options because you haven't got X and Y axis and like so on. But we'll go through this one. X axis, open that one up. The title. In this case, now, I'm going to contradict what I was taught all the way through my Excel training, that your bar chart should have a title, X-axis title, Y-axis title, labels, and so on. That's all very well when you've got one chart that fills the page. We want to make the absolute best use of any space we've got. So what I'm about to tell you is subjective. However, I would suggest we don't really need name there. It's fairly obvious that highest grossing movies, that's the name of them. So let's turn off the X-axis title. Just turn it off. It just gives us that little bit extra space on the chart. The values we've got are in black there at the moment. We can change the font size if we want, make them a bit weirder so they fit in. And you've got other options in there as well. But we'll close down X-axis now. Now Y-axis, and I'm going to do the same thing, sum of gross. It says highest grossing movies. I think we can probably lose that in this case. Turn off the title. Go. And I think for that one, it'll do it for just now. If we want, we can put the data labels on. Here we go. And we've got options within the data labels and the values there. The display units as, it says auto. If you put none, I'll show you, it'll be a little bit difficult to read. So I would leave, if you're going to have that on, either billions or auto, and it's a little bit easier to read them. Okay, close that down. Right, let's have another chart. So before we create another chart, we need to make sure we've not on this one, because if we started to add fields here, it would just add it to our existing chart. So make sure you're clicked in the white area there. And on this one, we want to find out how many movies have been released per year. So we'll start with year. Now, what we don't want is the year there. We want the year to be in the x-axis. So I'm going to pull that from there up to the x-axis. And we want the number of movies. So we'll go by movie ID, because like databases, your ID is your unique identifier. It might be that if we picked name, for instance, there might be 3 versions of Romeo and Juliet. So movie ID is unique, and it'll give us a more accurate. We'll go there. We don't want it legend. We pull it up to, oh, beg your pardon, pull it up to x-axis. There we go. And that's telling us, within the years that we've got there, how many movies have been released in each year. If you hang over it, it says 200 in 1996. I suspect this database just gives you the top 200 in each, but you know. So let's do the updating as we have there. Firstly, let's go general, remember. Properties I'm not going to worry about, that's more than sizing, but the first thing we can do is title. We'll go number, releases per year. We'll center it so it's consistent with that one. We might even put releases. Thank you for noticing. We don't really need to have year and count of movie ID because it's fairly obvious what that is. So as with before, you can use that. We'll also stick on, remember, effects, border, and shadow. That'll do for the general. Into visual, because the ones we want to change, the X and Y axis titles are within the visual. So we just change, take the title off. Do the same for the Y axis, take the title off. And if you wanted to, you could put the data labels on there. There we go. Shows you exactly how many, according to this data set, we're releasing every year. Okay. Now, what we haven't done for a while is save. So go File and then Save. Within here, we've got the option, if we want, we can change the colors either individually or a sliding scale. I don't know if anyone's done conditional formatting within Excel. Let's do that. Select the top one, highest grossing movies. And what we want to do, we're formatting the visual. So it's over here. And we're looking at columns. So let's open that up. Now the default, as it says, is blue. Drop that down. We can change the default if we want to whatever color we want. However, try that little FX button. And we'll get this little pop up here. I'm going to move it up here so we can see what we're doing. We're going to format it on a gradient. We're going to base the format on the gross. The lowest one, let's make the lowest one red. So we just go red. The highest value we'll make green. No green in there. Pick one. Let's go for, say that. That'll do. As green as you can. And we'll add a middle colour, and it'll automatically guess the middle colour should be yellow. Press OK. You've now got your chart formatted with the lowest grossing ones in red and the highest up there. We've got that legend there. Let's move that as well. So back to legends. Let's center it, top center, so it's underneath the title. Oh, title doesn't make sense yet either, so we'll just put. In fact, I don't think we need the gross title. Take that off. That's a bit better. So what the legend does, because we've done it in this conditional formatting, so the lowest gross being the red and the highest the green, and it then tells you automatically the average there. Let's look at Titanic. Can you see what's happened? As I've selected Titanic there, it's shown us that it was released in 1997. There, that's just the one. And I then click on Titanic again, everything then comes back. This is where it gets clever. We can have 10, 12 visuals on a page and we can link them all together. So as we look at, what's that, The Dark Knight, it shows us that that was released in 2010. Quite clever. And just to get rid of it, or bring it back to default again, click on there. Okay, remember to save, file, save. That'll do, and we'll come back in a minute.